Yeah, so this is our end-to-end solution architecture. The solution itself is completely hosted on cloud. So the Airbyte is so I'll start from left to right. Our source database is hosted on DVD rental RDS. So over here, this is our project 2 DVD rental. This is our address. You can see that over here, their connections corresponds. And we go to the schema. This is one of our actors. If I quickly draw it, it should work. Um, yep, so it does. And so that's our RDS. Ingestion is our EC2 database. Um, our EC2 database, this is our database. Is the public IP address is EC44214104.246. So if I go on Airbyte, I can access it publicly. And then I guess one note that was I guess I did have a talk with Chris, and Kubernetes is truly a beast because I installed Kubernetes 2 days ago and now it's not there. So it's kind of interesting. So I'm like, but I did capture some logs. So when I was troubleshooting, to understand what was going on, the replications, um, I was able to see we had a few pods running. So if there was a replication pod running, we took a look, and I discovered, well, one of the problems was insufficient CPU. So sometimes we had to manually kill those pods to kind of free up the memory. So that was one thing. And so after that was adjusted, this would move over to the data warehouse. And so I will attempt to do this, but will move to the raw tables after the ingestion. And so this, I think, was done 2 days ago. And so after this ingestion, we had Docker dbt that's hosted on ECS. So their ECR here is pushed over here to ECR, and we're using this cluster as Fargate to run it. And yeah, so after it pushed, it goes through the raw station and march that GMB and Supine talk about, and then it's loaded into preset. And the Docker file itself, let me talk about that. So quickly, the Docker file is basically we have a Docker file. Yeah, I don't know what happened here with the CMD because I tried to segregate it to stage and only, but they ended up running the whole thing. It's drawn from the preset dbt Snowflake package, and then we build it. We build it here. One of the challenges I had with the build dbt was that this little sequence end of line sequence has to be set to LF for some reason. I still don't know the reason, but yeah, that was pretty much it. And so yeah, so after that's pretty much it. So I think with further ado, no further delay, I'm just gonna attempt to run the Airbyte. Just hope it doesn't hang. And so this was run a few days ago. It succeeded. You see the logs. Um, yeah, so this ran a few days ago successfully. So we'll just kind of give it a shot. Sync it now. Um, just so 3 minutes 34 seconds. So I don't know. So I'm gonna run this. View logs. So a quick comment about their resource being pulled though. So I think I've used in my instance, I used a T3 large. I know I had a talk with Jake and he said he was able to do with T2 medium. And then I saw on the Slack, I think Ming also used I think T3 extra large. It's really weird because the original Airbyte EC2 instance I set up, it was requesting like a lot of memory size, like I think 500 megs in memory, but now it's just um yeah, so pretty nervous about this.
I think while the Airbyte is running would be a good moment to, like, if they had any questions.
I have a question, if that's okay. I noticed on DBT you have YAML files at the table level. Is that just to keep the schema YAML file separate, or does that have different functionality? Or keep the schema YAML file smaller, or is that separate functionality?
Which YAM files are you talking about? The ones under marks, or is it
Just in general, I see that every SQL file has a corresponding YAML file. Is that intended to keep the schema YAML file smaller, or like does that create drive different functionality?
I think I can answer that. So I tried to create some tests as well, and then call the test from the YAML file, but I didn't manage to do that. It kind of said like it wasn't finding the test, so I just tried to keep for each SQL for like dimension or for the business question SQL. I tried to create a YAML file because was, at least for me, was also easier to understand and see what tests were doing. Like for each SQL, there was a test, so I didn't get lost.
I see. Is there a best practice, or does that is it
Is I guess it's a Jambi practice. I don't know what would be the best practice.
Yeah, I guess at my company we keep it separate. Like so instead of having a single very large schema file, we try to have separate ones like what these guys are doing. We found that it was probably easier to find exactly where the documentation is for that model by going into like the specific file itself. And sometimes the files can get pretty large once you start adding things like descriptions and column descriptions. And at my company also we add tags on columns. So yeah, it's just easier overall to like make one file specific for that model's definition.
that makes sense. Thanks.
Thanks.
Sorry to jump in. So the replication was successful. So usually, originally we were stuck here. For some reason, it was asking for CPU 500 megs, but this time it went through. So it's been successful. And so if you go to the customer, you'll see the raw tables where it says updated 1 minute ago. So from a pipeline perspective, we can either schedule it or every hour, like during like the maintenance window. So it's now in the raw part. So I'll just quickly run a Docker file just to move this to consumption. So I think right now you'll see that the dims, they were done like a day ago. So I will quickly go to task here, run a new task. And I think here I'm gonna choose DEC Docker Snowflake dia, and then I'm just gonna run this. And then just so it is running right now. And then this, okay, this will show up. Nice. Test on. So we should run. Let's see. And then, so it is running right now. So I think the end result is that if this is successful, then we'll see in the Snowflake warehouse that these tables going to be updated. So just going back here, and then we just see some logs showing that it. Okay, yeah, so it's running right now. So C is doing this. Installing DBT. Install the packages. So it's now running it. Let's see where we're at. So we're gonna have to wait a bit. Okay, so yeah, so it ran all the marts right now. So yeah, did it run all of it? Yeah, it did. Okay, so it ran all of it. So if we go to the dims and marks, it says like basically got updated, I think, a few moments ago. So that was like basically the end-to-end demonstration, I guess. in the practical world, we run this during the maintenance window. You'll schedule one after the other. Maybe in a more refined schedule. That's all. That was pretty much a demonstration there.
Awesome. Well, I'd love to see the whole thing hosted in cloud. I think you've addressed each of the components. Looks like it was a bit of work wrangling all the different parts, especially Kubernetes, and getting it to run ABCTL on that EC2. So congratulations for persisting and getting something to work that you're actually able to demo as well on the call. So I think it's an achievement there. Very good.